Hey, fellow Rangers, it's me, Mario. It's been a long time, but I'm finally doing the video I've been requested the most in the last, I would say, months or even years. I'm gonna talk about builders, why they win, why they are so strong, and why do I love that much them. So, let's just take a quick look at what a final situation of a builder's game can look like. As you can see, in kind of competitive game, there are a lot of buildings down. I'm the blue player here, so I have like a chain down here that leads up to this spot. I have another building strong over here, and I won by a considerable margin, if I remember correctly. Yes. So, builders are good. They're pretty good, but why are they so strong? So, the first thing that I have to say is that they are the most complicated strategy of all. They require a strong understanding of the game, of the flow of the game, of the way a game shapes itself each time. There are like some common themes depending on the starting setup, on the available personal buildings, on the hazards, and on how the neutral building are placed down. It will require too much time to go too much into the details here. I think that I could talk about a builder strategy for hours, like literally hours. I'm not joking. So today we are just going to focus on a few things that make a builder strong, a few things that may be problems if you find yourself trying to go for a builder strategy, some common themes and things like that, but nothing too detailed. So, what's your most important aim as a builder is to make your loop better and make your opponent's loops miserable. That's what you're aiming at all the time. Since if you watched my previous videos, you probably already know the things that I think Great Western Trail is. It's a loop building game, it's not a deck building game, so you're basically building up your loop to make it so that your stops are optimal and you run fast, you deliver fast, and you're going to only stop where it's relevant. So for builders, that's even more important because they have no supporting way to gain points out of using their buildings at their best. So they don't actually get many points from deliveries most of the time, unless, as we're going to see, they're going to cheat a bit. They don't get too many points from station, and for sure, most of the time they will not get till the end. It used to be a bit different in the first edition, but right now, builders are pretty much never getting to the end of the track, so they really need to use their buildings in the best possible spot. Now, you see that I reached the end of the track. That's because I think this game was a tad too slow and my opponents played a bit too slow. As you can see, I like I have two rows full of workers, which is not definitely not what is happening in most games. But still, you are going to get some points from stations or from deliveries, but you're going to rely a lot on your buildings and not on cows or engineers to move the train. Um, an important thing to know, first and foremost, is that builders doesn't need to be all in as other strategy do. So with cowboys, I think that most of the time you want to go up to 5, but probably 6 cowboys. And with engineers depends depending on the number of station master tile and if they pivot to other strategies, but most of the time you still want to really focus on them. With builders, you can really focus on them. Like as you can see, I reached up the 6th builder. But you can also stop on 4 and sometimes even on 2 in the early game and then maybe ramp up to 4 or even 6 later on. So they're a bit more nuanced, and as with everything with builders, it requires a strong read on the board, on your opponent's actions, and on the timing, and yeah, it's pretty hard. One common theme for all builder strategies pretty much is that they are going to need quite a bit of coins early on, so you will probably deliver twice to Kansas City. I think with other strategy you can go there once and sometimes even not go there, but with builders I would say that it's pretty much impossible not to go there twice, and sometimes you can even go there thrice. Even though it depends, like in the base game, the first edition, that was the case. Right now, I don't think it's optimal, but as you can see, I lost 3 points over here, so maybe going another time to Kansas City would have been better. So, As with engineers, I would say there are like two main approaches to the game when you go for builders. They're not as clear and cut as with engineers. Like with engineers, you really have to make a decision. Either you go for the station master tiles or you try to go for the ender truck. You can maybe wait to decide a bit in the early game, but then you have to commit. While with builders, I think again is more nuanced. But yeah, one approach is the tall as soon as possible approach, and the second one is the wide then tall approach. So with the first one, you basically just focus on the 10 building of choice. Let's go to a new game if we can, so that I can show you. So you focus on the 10 building that you're dealt with. In this case, is 10A. In some other games, it's going to be 10B. You focus on getting that building on the board as soon as possible. This strategy requires more coins than any other strategy in the game, require good timing, but it's very, very, very powerful and reliant. So what you're aiming at, in case of 10A, you are going to place down a level 1 building, um, then you're going to get the fourth builder, because with the fourth builder is very important in any builder strategy. You're going to upgrade to a level 5 building, and after that you're just going to use the normal like building action and upgrade that building to 10A, because that's a 9 builders building. With 10B it's a bit easier because you can leave down your taxer, your one building, and you can just go for a level 4 building and then go for 10B. That's your main strategy. So you're just building once probably, and then you're going to upgrade it once thanks to the fourth builder and another time thanks to the building action. That's, I would say, something. If you haven't tried builder before, you should try to go for it and try to see what are the problems with it, how can you solve them. Normally you need, again, a lot of coins, a very good position for your starting spot, because you really want to upgrade that as soon as possible. The other strategy that they can go to is the wide then tall strategy. So they are going to focus on taxers, placing down a level 1 building, a level 2 building with the black hand. That's very good for taxing people. They're going to focus on building up sun chains already, normally thanks to 3A and 3B, slash 3B, sorry, and the level 4 of choice. And after that, they are going to still set up for a 10 building. A level 10 building is required in most like heavy building strategy. If you just have two builders, you can just go for a good chain and build a bit. It depends. If 3B is in the game, it's of course way better to just get the second builder. If there is 3A, that's not that important in the early game. So this approach requires you to plop down some taxers on the other side of the hazard path to tax people and to speed up your loop. Because again, one big thing that I want to stress out in this video that you should keep in mind all the time is that you're focusing on three main things when you go for builders. One of them are, as far as buildings are concerned, one of them are hands on the buildings. The taxers are very good, and you should normally try, if you go for the wide approach, you should go for one of these, and one of these, so that you have a lot of taxes down. The second thing you want to focus on are extra step. Building up a chain is very, very good. And as you can see, we're going to build all these three buildings in this game if we go for builders. And the last thing, of course, is the 10 building of choice. So these three things are what you should look at when you go for a builder plan. Extra steps, hands, and the 10 building. They are the three most important things. All the other buildings can be important, can be tactically important, especially the 9 building is normally very important because it can give you quite a few bit of points in the late game. But the other things I've been talking about are the most important things in every single builder game you're going to have. So let's talk a bit about the two different 10 buildings, because they are going to inform the way you are going to play the game. So when the 10 building A is in the game, you have to remember that you are going to max out certificates if you focus on it. So When you deliver to Kansas City, you want to unlock first and foremost always the coin action if you go for builders. But if you go for 10A, the second one should be this one, and the first black disc that you should be able to unlock thanks to a delivery with 4 certificates and a 6 hand should be this one. So normally extra movement is the first black disc you're going to unlock in every strategy. This is the only exception in the game. If you go for 10A, you should unlock this one, because then, thanks to the 2 extra certificates you're going to get, you should probably be able to place another black disc down that is going to be the extra movement. Also, 10A gives you 5 hopping steps. That's the best building for moving fast, and if this one plus 4B are in the game, you have an humongous number of free steps you can take each and every loop, so you need the extra movement less. You still need it, probably, to be more flexible, but you have to go for this one. Another big thing to remember if you go for 10A is that, well, first and foremost, you will not be able to leave down your taxer if you go for it real fast, again, because you're going to build this one, then build a level 5 building, which unfortunately will take probably away 2 taxers. So probably your end game will just be one of these building, this one for the extra step, and another good building for points. But remember that builders don't get amazing conversions point-wise. So you really need points from the buildings. If you go for 10A, you would also really like to get 1 or maybe even 2 cows in your deck. So you can actually, after you got the 4th builder, if you were able to upgrade to 10A real fast, and I mean by the 3rd loop, you can actually switch and pivot to cowboys. And if the 10B is in a good position to have you hit the cow market, you should actually go for it, because you are going to get a lot more points from cows and deliveries than you're going to get from buildings. So this is another very nuanced thing. Sometimes you just go for full builders even with 10A, and you just use 10A to get better deliveries. But if you can get 1 or 2 cows in your deck, your points on the deliveries can really skyrocket, especially if you have both 4B and 10B and 10A, because you can rush through your deck fast and rush through the loop fast. So with just 2 cows, you probably will be able to hit delivery number 16 even. So that would be pretty good, and that would be the plan with um, 10A. But let's take a look at a game with 10B in it instead. I'm going to put it full screen once again so that it's easier for you to watch from home. So in this game, we actually have 10B, which gives you 4 coins, 4 steps on the track, and 4 steps of movements. We still have 4B and 3A, but it's even better. I think that 10B works way better with 4A and 3B, because 10B works really well with hazard spots. Like, in this game, there are already 2 hazards down, so it depends a lot on how many hazards you can pick up. So if 4A is in the game, it's pretty easy to pick up hazards and to clear up a hazard path. But it works really well with the hazard path because you have an incidental way to cycle away the bad cows from your deck, the ones, and you can get certificates while doing so, which are going to help you deliver better, because without 10A, your deliveries are going to suck quite a bit. So if you think that you're going to get 6 or 7 deliveries in the game, you will probably aim in a 10B game without building on hazards. You will probably go 3 times to Kansas City, 1 time to Fulton, 1 to Bloomington, and maybe once to Chicago, but more often to Peoria. It depends a lot on what you can pick up on your way. But with 10B, you can get Station Master tiles. So depending on the extra certificates you can get from Station Master tile and from the hazard spots, you can actually get pretty good deliveries, up to 12 or even 14. And you're also going to get some points for stations. Keep in mind also that 10B is a bit less reliant on a lot of coins, because you're going to have a taxer down plus this one, so you're going to tax people quite a bit. Depending on the game, you can also get down this one and this one on top of 10B. So I would say that 10B is less powerful, has less raw power, I would say, than 10A, but it's more flexible and goes more hand in hand with other buildings like, again, 4A and probably 3B to go on the hazard paths. So it can be even better. And let's talk a bit about this 9 building too. The 9 building normally is a big part of your final points. Sometimes the 12 building is also a big part of how you score in the late game, but this 9 building is pretty good. It's going to let you move 3 steps and get back to get an extra delivery for free on a city. And normally your plan is to advance a lot with 10B, get some station and some station master tile, and by the end of the game take 18 steps back to place a disc in New York, effectively making this stop over 9A a 9-point stop, which is pretty decent in the game if you consider that you can do that in chain with other buildings. Like this one should be the last part of the chain. And again, it works pretty well. Let's go again and look at the first game I was showing you, the one in which you can see the final situation. And as you can see, let's take a look at what I told you before and how it did work in this game. So I placed down 2 taxer above the hazard spots because they are pretty good at taking away coins from the other players. Also, I built a pretty good loop because as you can see, I can jump straight up on 4B, then go on 10B and go over here to build, which is what I want to do if I'm going for a full builder. Or thanks to 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can go unopposed on this building, which is what I done in this game, given that I also have all the engineers to try to reach the end. So this position of 10B was very flexible because I was able to both stop on the building here or later in the game stop over here to get a lot of steps. So you want a position that is going to tax people, that is going to leave you flexible as far as your options are concerned, and you want to build up a good chain while taxing people. This building was built at the end of the track, probably because on the last loop I was able to build it, and as you can see my train is over here even though I got all the station. This is probably because I teleported back to this station to get the points, and then I hit this building to get the delivery to San Francisco, which indeed I got. So this is of course a very successful game. You don't have to do all these things in a game. I was playing probably against not opponents that are not as experienced as I am, but still it's a pretty good way to show you guys what you should strive for. So your 10 building should lead to relevant spots. It shouldn't leave you in, like, if you go to this building, probably you're not going that much, but you have to make up a plan for the building you're landing on after your chain. You have to set up a good chain, you have to tax people, you have to stop in relevant spots. You see, there are a lot of interlocking parts, which is what makes going for builders the most complicated strategy in the game by a long shot. I would like to talk a bit, just real quick, about the problems that you can have while you go for a builder strategy. The first one is not getting enough coins. So this building over here and this building down here are your best friends when you go for a builder strat. Normally you want to stop on a spot to get coins, on the spot where you can get heads, and on the building spots. These are the 3 spots you want to hit the most out of your early loops, but you can also, like if you're able to place down for being a good spot, you can also go even faster than that and just deliver fast to get the coins you need from Kansas City deliveries, and then just stop to build and to get heads. Of course, this is easier said than done, but it is what you should strive for, to get early coins. Another big thing that can be a problem for you are buildings from the other players. Of course, if you're playing against competitive opponents, they will not just look at you building all over the track. They're just going to mess up with you, placing building in awkward spots that will have you take very bad stops on your loop, or they're going to tax the hell out of you. So you have also to consider what the other players are doing, and also for a builder strategy you really need to go for 4 builder, otherwise you're not really playing a builder strategy. And on some setups getting the second builder is very good because 3B is in the game, In this game, it was not, so I didn't have to build it. But if 3B is in the game, players can just get a builder to build 3B and then the 4 building of their choice, either 4B or 4A. So depending on that, players can mess up with the number of builders you need. They might take away cheap builders from you, so that can be a problem. Another thing you should keep in mind is that you are going to unlock the extra movement way later than your opponents. Like a cowboy strat can unlock it by their third or fourth delivery. An engineer strategy can even unlock it on the second delivery, but more often than not, it's going to be the third one. For you, it might even be the fifth one, or it might even be never. Like in this game, you see that I've unlocked a lot of them, but in some games that I played, I never went to Chicago with builders. I would say that it's rare, but it's something to keep in mind when you go for builders. So, overall, going for builders, it's a very complicated strategy. It's not an easy one. I would never suggest it to beginners. And when I introduce new players to Great Western Trail, I always tell them to try Cowboys out first. But if you're already at least an intermediate player, so if you've already played the game between 5 and 10 times and you're already familiar with the strategies that I showed you in the other videos, I would actually suggest you to try out builders. You're going to lose a lot at first, probably, even with what I suggested you here, because it's so hard to fill a video with all the strategies and tips that you need to play builders correctly. I tried to, but you need to try it out firsthand to, understand better the flow of the game, understand better which spots are better, which are not, in which setups some spots are better, some are not, when to go for hazard spots, when instead to go for taxing people, when to go for a fast 10 building, when to just go wide first and then go for the tall building. You have to try it out. But in my opinion, this is the most rewarding strategy and what sets up Great Western Trail at being a very great game, because it's the only game I know of where you actually build your loop and exploit it again and again. So check it out and try it. See you next time. Mars out. Bye bye.